Today we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about and demonstrate setting flash patterns for syncing of LED light heads. And for that we're going to use a pair of Whelen TIR3 LED light heads. These light heads have the ability to be synchronized. And with the synchronization feature, what that means is you have the ability to allow your light heads to flash together at the same time or to flash alternating in a specific flash pattern that is set by you, the end user. The first thing you want to do is for setting flash patterns that have a sync ability is you want to first take a look at the manufacturer's installation instructions and select a flash pattern that has the sync feature. Whelen, like other manufacturers in their installation guide, has a listing of all the appropriate flash patterns, as well as flash patterns that have the ability to synchronize, as well as flash patterns that do not have the ability to synchronize. The synchronizing of the light heads is going to be programmed. The program is going to be done through the trigger wires on the back of the LED light heads. On the back of the LED light heads here, we have a black ground wire, a lead wire, which in this case identifies blue because the LED head is blue. We have the gray sync wire, which we'll show you here in a couple of minutes, and this is the wire that we will use for connecting the flashing between the two light heads to synchronize them. We also have the scan lock wire. The scan lock wire is what will allow us to change the flash patterns of the light heads. Out of the package, the light heads are already set to a specified flash pattern. That Whelen flash pattern is a Signal Alert 75, and it is a phase 1 of that flash pattern. For syncing, Whelen has flash patterns that have different phases. They have a phase 1 and a phase 2. What's really important to notice with these is the phase 1 and phase 2 of the same flash pattern may look identical, but the phasing is part of the programming which will tell the light head which order to flash in. So for example, for alternating, you would have one light head set to the flash pattern phase 1, the second light head set to phase 2. If you wanted to have simultaneous flashing, you would have both light heads set to phase 1 and then connect the sync wires as appropriate and specified in the installation instructions. Out of the package, with both of the light heads being set to the same pattern, I'll go ahead and turn them on and show you. You can see that we have both the light heads grounded, both the leads connected as appropriate to apply power to the wires, yet we do not have either of the gray sync wires connected. You can tell the flashing looks the same when the light heads are turned on at the same time. But we're going to go ahead and let them run for a couple minutes to show you that after a certain amount of time, the flashing between the two light heads will become different from each other. And that's just due to the fact that the light heads are not connected via the sync wires to allow for simultaneous flashing. Now that the light heads have been on and flashing for several moments, you can tell that the flashing between the two units has become different from each other, almost to the point now where it looks like the light heads are set to alternating, when they're not. You can still tell that the sync wires are not connected and that the unit is only grounded as well as connected to power. So now what we're going to do is turn the light heads off and connect the sync wires. And for Whelen light head syncing, it's specified in the installation instructions to connect the sync wires when the power has been disconnected from the light heads. Now that we have our sync wires connected, we'll go ahead and turn the light heads back on, and you can tell now the flash timing is the same, and that the light heads are properly synchronized together for simultaneous flashing. Now what we're going to do is show the process for setting up alternating flashing for setting light heads to a phase 1 and phase 2 flash pattern. we are not going to have our gray sync wires connected. And that is due to the flash pattern phasing setting, which again, the phasing will internally and electronically tell the light head in what order to flash. So we'll set this head here to phase 1, signal alert 75 flash pattern, which is again is set to out of the package as default. And we'll set this unit here to phase 2 of the same flash pattern. And again, keep in mind the flash patterns will look identical, but the phasing will be different for the alternating flashing. What we'll do here is turn the light heads back on, which again, they're still in a synchronized phase 1 flash pattern. So what we'll do here is we'll turn off the power, disconnect the light heads from both the ground and the lead, and as you can see, we have now disconnected the sync wires. And again, for changing the flash pattern to phase 2, we're going to take the scan lock wire and temporarily apply that to 12 volts worth of power to advance the flash pattern. So what we'll do is we'll take the wiring for this light head that we're going to change the flashing on, reconnect the ground, reconnect the lead, and pay close attention to the flashing, because you'll notice, like we said before, the flash pattern is set to a phase 1. You'll see it temporarily stop flashing for just a split second of extra time, and then it'll go back to looking like the same flash pattern, but it'll be set to phase 2. So we'll take the scan lock wire, momentarily power it to 12 volts. Now the light head has been set to phase 2 of the same flash pattern. And again, the light head next to it is set to phase 1. So we'll take a minute, reconnect some wires, and then you'll be able to see how the two flash patterns have been set for phase 1 and phase 2 to allow for alternating light head flashing. As you can see now, again with both leads reconnected, both grounds reconnected, scan lock wires not connected, and light heads are now alternating flashing. And again, flash pattern is set to phase 1, flash pattern is set to phase 2. And again, what's important to recognize is in setting the flash patterns for, again, a simultaneous or an alternating flashing, you need to make sure that you are picking flash patterns that do have a sync ability. In certain manufacturers' products, they'll have different flash patterns, some with the sync ability, some without. So just make sure that you're picking a flash pattern that has a phase 1 and a phase 2 for the specified flashing that you're wanting to do.